Hello, hello, hello. This is Tiffany with Healthy Passions. If you do not know me, let me briefly introduce myself. I am a certified personal trainer, certified wellness coach, certified energy healer. By birth, I am an oracle, prophetess, and a natural healer. Today, we're going to get into the new topics of 2026. Happy New Year for everyone. It's the Hebrew New Year, and it is just now 2026 for us. And the Most High gave me a whole new list of topics to do, and we're going to start with what we call mythical creatures, mythical stories, legends, things like that. And to do it in order, because the Most High does everything in order, we're just going to separate it by their systems or their origin of where they come from. So we're going to start with the Norse gods, Norse. So the Nordic gods, and we're going to start with Odin. That's like the perfect place to start if you ask me. All right, so if I'm looking down, those are my notes. I am learning as I go along the way, but I study these things, but not in this type of detail. So I'm just going to bring out what I have and then give it from a Hebraic view of why I feel like they are for or against our Elohim. Okay, so just because something is a myth or mythological, people assume that that means that it is not real or fake or made up, and that it couldn't be further from the truth. I will let you know if I think these entities are real or not. But when something is a myth, all of the word myth means at the root is that it was said orally. Like how I'm talking to you right now, that's how the story was told and passed down generation to generation. So just because I'm speaking the story and not necessarily writing it down does not make it a fake or something made up, right? So let's start with Odin. So number one, Odin, aka Woden, and Wotan. You might hear different pronunciations based on where the people are located and how they speak, their tongue, their accent. So those are the names that he's also known for. All right. Odin arguably is the most powerful god of the Norse mythology. He is said to be he's said to rule over wars, death, magic, and wisdom. He was the predominant god in Scandinavia towards the end of the pre-Christian era period. Okay, during this era, Odin was worshipped by kings, chieftains, and common people in Scandinavia. He is also called the All Father, right? Since he sacrificed his eye to gain all-seeing wisdom. It is believed that Odin lives in Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain, in a dimension or a place called Asgard with his wife Frigg. All right, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. It's Frigg. All right, so I don't speak this language, so if it's something I can't pronounce or don't pronounce correctly with my southern slur, I will spell it out. All right, so symbols of Odin: ravens, Volknot, which is a 3 interlocking triangle, runes, a magical ring, a sledged horse, and a Viking compass, and a gunnar, which is a ornate spear that he carries. Powers: wisdom, oversight of the afterlife, precognition, magic, shape-shifting, and healing. So the mythological story in a nutshell, I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of who Odin is. Odin sacrificed an eye for a drink from the well of Mimir, or Mimir, and that granted him wisdom and omnipotence. All right, was destined to die in the battle during the end of the world, Ragnarok. Discovered the Norse runes after sacrificing himself and hanging for 9 days from the world tree Yggdrasil. I'm going to spell it Ygg, D as in dog, Rasil. All right. So a lot of times people in modern times, they look at these as just stories or myths, and they never do the research. I want us to kind of get familiar with a lot of this mythology, because a lot of the entities in the mythology were actually real. So now that the veil is thinning, you're going to see more demonic activity. You're going to see more of the what was spoken of in the olden times appear. Things like dragons, giants, trolls, fairies, um, mermaids and sirens, things like that that we talk about. What is the name of the thing? Okay, thank you, Holy Spirit. Centaurs, the man that the half man, half horse, half woman, half horse, things like that are going to come more into this dimension. The world is changing. The world is kind of colliding with other dimensions, and we're seeing more of these sightings of these entities, right? Whom we thought were not real because we didn't see them. And now that the veil is thinning and the earth is returning to her original state, you may run into these things. And Big Levi talks about these entities a lot, which kind of gave me the idea to kind of research more and get to know more. So, because what Big Levi says is do not show up in fear. Some of these things look very scary. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I wouldn't say good or bad. Some of them are decent and some of them are not. So when you see them, though, that's the issue. When you see them, you're going to probably freak out. Like Big Levi says, don't freak out. You stay calm. Do not be overly friendly, but stay calm. Stand in your authority. Ask him, what do you want, or why are you here? And go from there. Other than that, if it's a demonic type interaction, don't have too much conversation with it. And we do have spiritual authority over these things as long as we live righteously by following the laws and the commandments of the Most High, following Torah, and walking uprightly and straying away from sin. So we should be safe either way. So stand in your boldness. You are made in the image of the Most High. And so therefore, you do have spiritual authority, especially on the physical plane. You can command these things to leave, to move around, and cast out spirits as well. So that is something that we will talk more about at the beginning of this year. So the way that I set up the information for the live and for what my topics are going to be is I want to kind of present who and what they are, what system they're from, and then I want to talk about how they're worshiped in modern time, and if I feel that they are an enemy to the Most High Yah and his people or not. So let's start with how they're worshiped in modern time. The first thing I found was a celebration called Blots, B as in boy, Lots. All right. So this is a ritual sacrifices. Typically, like food or drink is offered to the gods. All right. And then another one is called Sumble, Sumble. And a ritual drinking session is what will happen with the people where they honor their gods, their ancestors, and their heroes. And then they do that through boasting and toasting, like it's a drinking session. All right. Sindar. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, so I'm going to spell it. S as in Sam, E as in Eric, D as in D as in dog, and R as in Rick. So Seidr is a form of Norse shamanism involving a trance and divination, often associated with Odin and the goddess Freyja. All right. Rune work. All right. So rune work is the study and the use of runes, the ancient Germanic alphabet for divination and magical purposes. All right. So if you know my platform, you know my purpose is to teach against witchcraft. Not everything that we see is necessarily on the left-hand side witchcraft. There are practices that are just just are. And then there's a good side of it, and then there's the bad side of it. So think of it more in those terms, right? So for me, the definition of witchcraft is trying to go against the will of someone else, right? To force them to do what you want them to do, or manipulate them to do it what you want them to do, okay? Magic in itself is fine. Most High's people, we do magic all the time. Think of the word miracle. If someone saw the miracle, they would consider that to be magic or magical, right? So we practice magic all the time, but witchcraft is a whole nother setting that goes against spiritual law. It goes against someone's free will. All right. So my thoughts on Odin, based on what I studied, I feel like he is real. I also feel like he is the enemy of the Most High and his people, and here's why. So number one, Odin sacrificed his eye to become all-seeing, wise, and omnipotent, right? That is an attribute of the Most High Yah. He is the only one who has naturally been able to know all things and see all things and be in all places at once. So he, by making that sacrifice and drinking from that well, he illegally accessed power and abilities that he wouldn't have normally had. So that's a violation of spiritual law. I also feel, based on my studies, that he is what we call a fallen angel that wanted to be worshipped like the Most High. The lengths that he went through to gain all-seeing knowledge and in the discovery of runes would be considered illegal access to the spiritual realm, right? Or to knowledge that he wasn't necessarily supposed to have in a reference. So it's illegal access and therefore a huge violation of Yah's spiritual laws. Odin is a fallen angel with offspring with abominable bloodlines, hybrids, all right? So think hybrids, fallen angel, human, hybrid type entities, right? So hybrids that were never meant to exist, most of which are enemies of the Most High Yah and his people. I find that out of one of his children, Thor, which we've heard a lot about in our modern times, Thor himself is probably one of the only decent children of Odin, although he will most likely never enter into the gates of heaven or, paradise. He probably won't, based on his bloodline, all right? And because he wasn't meant to be, so therefore they can't go to what we call paradise, or what some people call heaven, but they mean paradise. He can't go to paradise or Haiti at the time. He would have to, stay in the area that he's in because of his bloodline, what his DNA is, all right? So I consider him an enemy of the Most High also because he did the same thing as Lucifer, wanted to be, desired to be worshipped like the Most High, wanted to be on the same level as the Most High, and that's just not something that was meant to be. That is the Most High and his alone. So that's why I feel like he would be an enemy of the Most High. So we're going to go through all of the Nordic gods. So when I come back Sunday, we're going to talk about his counterpart, his wife, and go on from there. Now, we're going to do it in order of systems. So I'm going to do all the Nordic gods, and then excuse me, then I'm going to go to the Greek gods and things like that, because I want to kind of keep it in orders just for me to make sure that I get as much out there as possible. I also want to go over some of the mythological creatures and talk about that, because we don't want to be left in the dark if one of these entities just happens to appear and we see them ourselves. We need to know what they are, what they're about, and as much about them as you can. So that's just what I'm going to do. So I don't like to hold people long on lives or videos, so I'm just going to do like a page or two of notes and just get it out there. So now that Odin's done, I will be back on Sunday. I wanted to make a quick announcement that in 2026, the Most High has increased the lives for the week. At first, I was doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday lives on TikTok. And then recently, before the end of the year, he had me record those videos as well, the topics on YouTube. Now, 2026 has hit. He said we're in it full throttle. So he wants me to do a live 6 days a week. So that is going to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Of course, off on the Sabbath, unless it interferes with one of our holy days or something like that, or if I'm told to rest. That is the intention, to do 6 lives a week. So you will have 6 videos on YouTube as well a week. Not only that, the Herbal Friday still stays, and the Shana with Healthy Passion still stays on Friday as well. The new change, he prevented me from, he didn't let me do it in 2025 or 2024. The new thing that has changed is after the lives on TikTok, I will come back and do oracle readings, $5 oracle readings, 6 days a week for 2 hours. So once I get this posted, I will be going back live on on TikTok for 1 hour. And I'll do 1 hour of readings, and then I'll come back at another time and do another hour. So just bear with me on the schedule. I'm going to try to make it stay in sync. I know that I can't be on the live as long as I would like, but it kind of works out because it gives me time to kind of take a break, do what I need to do, and then come back to it. So today will be the first day of the oracle readings online. I always did these privately. If the person is comfortable enough to do it on the live, they can do it on the live. You can also just book with me at healthypassiontiff@gmail.com. It's the way that I prefer, but you can also inbox me on any of my platforms, all right, to get that. So how it works is, once I do the live, that gives you that whole time, about an hour, 55 minutes, about an hour to decide if you want the reading or not. You will pay me in advance on my PayPal at healthypassiontiff@gmail.com, or on my Cash App, which is $, HealthyPassU. All right, you would pay me ahead of time. In the topic section, you're going to put your name as it either appears on TikTok or I wanted your name, your first name, and the name as it appears on TikTok, because a lot of times those are different. So I need to make sure I can associate your name with your name on social media. So remember that in the notes section. Then what happens after that is, once people are booked for the session and they want to do it online, that's great. I'll come back on and do it in the order that I received those. And the second hour is to take care of the people who didn't make the first hour. If it goes longer than that, I will just have to contact you privately and we'll get it done that day. All right? Unless it's a Friday and it's sundown, then it will have to be on Sunday. All right? I love you guys. That is the intention that I have. I love you. Take care. Have a great day.